nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Beckham, let the ball on! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it.
Welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast. My name's Devin. It's been a while since we talked to you guys, but we're back here to talk about some roster moves and just do a little banter and kind of see how everyone's doing. I'm joined today by Seth, who knows everything. Seth, how you feeling? Is it snowed in Chicago yet?
It sort of snowed on Sunday, but it is really, really cold, and I came down with a cold myself. So at least I'm podcasting far away from you guys. But it has been, yesterday, like the wind chill was like -3. Yeah, winter is here in the north.
Yeah, no, I don't miss that from the Midwest at all. What was your favorite Thanksgiving dish you had?
Oh, my dad makes an incredible stuffing.
Okay, nice. Charles, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Good. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
I did. The best dish at the house was also stuffing. We made it with Asiago cheese bread, and it was gone leftovers wise after 2 days.
That's intriguing. I might have to steal that next year. Brad, you did a great job barbecuing for the LV hockey game. How was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was solid. It was just me and my lovely wife, Carrie. So no family or anything over, which made it nice and quiet. And we did just kind of our own little thing, which was nice. And she has learned to make my grandmother's Southern dressing to a T, and I much appreciate that.
Impressive. Did Josie get any special snacks?
I did sneak Josie a piece or two of ham, much to Carrie's chagrin.
Okay. Do you do ham, turkey, both, brisket?
So, HEB does the buy a ham, get a turkey for free.
Okay.
So we do the ham, and then I just stick the turkey in the freezer, and then when I feel like making a turkey, I smoke a turkey down the road.
Nice.
Perfectly fine.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
And
vary the Lidl.
Yeah, and then you get to have night ham that way with stick some ham in an aloha bread, make little rolls, and have night ham sandwiches for football on Thanksgiving evening.
Ooh, that's really solid. Little egg bowl with your ham.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. We did bury the lead a little bit on you here, listeners. We're about 2 minutes in. We haven't mentioned that we have a special guest, Phil West. Phil, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. How was your Thanksgiving? Do you have a favorite dish?
Yeah, we had a great Thanksgiving. We were supposed to go to Nashville. Plans changed remarkably because of some illnesses and things like that. So we stayed at home, and my 16-year-old kind of took over some of the cooking and made a really good stuffing, and then really good mac and cheese dish. And then I contributed a Brussels sprouts dish, which was covered in a lot of cheese and heavy cream and all that, and that turned out really good. Just as healthy as that sounds.
Yeah, that's the proper way to eat Brussels sprouts, especially on Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
We do have a little bit of, I don't want to call it hazing, but I do have a bone to pick with you, Phil. So
sure.
I submitted to your lovely newsletter, Verde All Day, which everybody should subscribe to on Substack, a question under my online alias ATX Bergkamp Lover 6969420. Ha 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 ha. And I asked you a question. I think you gave me a cop-out answer. So we're going to ask you again, and we'll see what you have to say. So if you could bathe in any liquid for the rest of your life, and you can't pick water, sparkling water, coconut water, any derivation of water, what would you pick?
Can I use coconut milk?
Sure.
Okay. I will do that then.
Okay. Coconut milk? It's good for your skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. That's
yeah. I really like bathing with water. That's why this question was so hard for me.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's what I specialize in, is ridiculous questions, but
right. I would say coconut milk. I did give you like my absolute nightmare, which would be tomato juice.
Yeah, no, that would be terrible.
Yeah, which I also hear does not actually do anything against skunks, which we had to find out because we had kind of a skunk invasion last summer, and my husky ended up killing both a mother and a baby skunk in our backyard over the course of several days. That was pretty unpleasant.
Those are furry dogs, and that doesn't come out easy, I'm sure.
6 months.
Oh.
And of course the dog got in the house and immediately rubbed herself all over the couch,
Yeah, naturally.
This is terrible. Now I'm gonna make you suffer too, that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's it's a dog thing to do. We just had our our little official corgi of the Suffering from Joy podcast, Philip J. Frankton, the third Esquire, got his snip, so he's stuck in a box for another couple days, but he's been trooping it out. Anybody have any other good answers about the bathing in liquid question? No, I was hoping that was the answer. Okay, down to brass tacks here. We got some roster news, a little bit of roster news. I'm not sure how much of this is surprising, but some names are going, some people are sticking around. We got some information on Ethan Finley signing an extension. Seth, where are we at?
So we need some more players. There are 9 guys that were non-renewed, which was to be expected. We need some roster turnover. I think all of us can agree on that. A little surprised to see Kip Keller not. I thought he was actually on a 3-year deal, not on a 2-year deal, but he's not coming back. We knew Maxey. I mean, he'd been posting on Instagram for 3 months that he wasn't coming back. There wasn't really huge surprises there. It's a little weird to me that Hector Jimenez's situation isn't 100% confirmed, but
that was far and away the best one.
What's that?
That was far and away the best one.
Yeah.
Hector, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, it's okay. I think having him be an assistant coach would actually be a really good thing. But I guess if we can't find enough guys to fill out a roster, we could get him on a minimum contract. But he barely played this year, and I would much rather take a risk on a 19 or 20-year-old, or heck, someone from FC over.
Yeah, he got like 50 MLS minutes. Yeah, I mean, I think assistant coach is clearly where he's headed. But yeah, that the ongoing conversations part of the roster moves announcement is the best, really.
Yeah. Charles, Brad, anything to add here?
I mean, that says we need players, but we don't really use subs. So I don't know that we actually need players. We have enough to field 11 on there right now with a keeper. So I think we're good.
We don't use subs, but we do get injuries.
So,
yes, we get a lot of injuries.
So here's the thing. Even with no injuries, we're still not good. Seth's right.
Totally different problem.
Seth's right that we need players because at this point we only have 2 fullbacks, and I think we only have
2.5. Count Owen.
Are we also counting Owen as a half striker?
We'll call him a half in 5 different positions.
Okay, that's versatile. Shout out Jorge Atorade. No, I think the biggest thing is they just need players in depth and guys who can actually fit into whatever the new system is or the old system is or whatever we're going to be playing for next year. So I think that the fullback roster decisions going forward are going to be informative for how the roster is going to rebuild and what kind of formation we might see.
Yeah, but clearly they needed to create some kind of space. And I mean, getting rid of $900,000 worth of striker salary that produced 4 goals is probably a good idea.
Yeah. That's the thing.
100%.
There's a ton of salary cap flexibility right now that you can go within MLS and find some domestic players, even find some international players during this break. I think I'm sure we're going to get to this. Anybody expecting the big DP splash to happen this current offseason is probably not really paying attention to what's being said. But I'm really intrigued by the roster flexibility we have going into the next month or 2 here before camp starts back up.
Yeah, but Brad, I will challenge that a little bit. I mean, the MLS Board of Governors is meeting on December 14th, which is not that far away. And there have been rumors about a 4th DP, about extra spots, about higher cap space. As much as we like to make fun of everything in Messi, Messi led a lot of people to pay for Apple TV. And the more Apple TV subscriptions, it means some more GAM in the future. So there's going to be some more money here. And I'll be curious to see what actually gets approved there. But if there is a 4th DP spot, I mean, I still think Rodo would probably wait till the summer to fill it. But if there is someone there that could come up now, I think you at least have to be in the market.
Jordan Morris isn't going to sign himself, man.
So yeah.
We'd be lucky if the old striker we sign is Jordan Morris.
His miss at the start of that playoff game was just atrocious.
I mean, have you looked at this free agent list? Kai Kamara is just sitting there.
Kai Kamara, who was sitting on getting to be the all-time second leading goal scorer in MLS history and didn't score a goal after May this year?
Well, that's more recently than Maxey.
Yikes.
But yeah, I want to kind of fold these two into a question, I guess, for a special guest. Phil, are we gonna play like roughly the same system? And if so, like what should we be targeting with these roster moves?
Yeah, well, I mean, Roto said as much, right? In the press conferences, he talked about being enamored of the style. Josh clearly is a Pep admirer. Roto clearly was a Pep assistant. So I think that they are going to try to play the same way, but obviously they don't really have the personnel to do it, as evinced by a lot of last year's play and kind of degrading into hopeful crosses, things like that. So I think definitely more fullbacks. I mean, again, just because they don't have very many at this point, but also because that's a place where they really need to upgrade. And then still, I think if we can get maybe a under 30 striker who could create his own shot, that would be great. I mean, there are a lot of tempting over 30 strikers that would underperform in Austin FC tradition that we've had so far. So, Diego Rubio is out there, so that's certainly a possibility. But, there's also like a Danny Musovski who might be somebody who could come and spell and do some good things given the opportunity to make more than $85,000 or whatever he was making. But my hope is that they go overseas. My hope is that they don't necessarily. I mean, they'll need to go into the MLS pool to fill out the roster, but I'm hoping that they don't just kind of do another kind of Danny Hosen style move or something like that.
Yeah, no more Adam Lundquists.
Yeah. So my only concern about the Musovski move, and I'm not sure if MLS rules allow this, but are you allowed to have two players where the crowd does the fake boo chant, saying their name? Because I'm not sure that's allowed by MLS rules.
We're just tearing down barriers.
Exception along with the fourth DP. Maybe there will be the two players that rhymes with boo that you can have.
Yeah. So, open question here: is there a worse signing we could make than Chicharito?
Yeah, sure.
I knew you would have an answer for me, Seth.
I mean, I don't know. This club could bring back a former DP. There are always worse signings that can be made.
Was that entire Instagram thing? I'm wearing green. I look good in this color thing. Just totally ridiculous because that's the Mexico national team colors, or is there any smoke to this fire?
I took that he wanted to play for Santos, but that was
or Club Leon.
Yeah.
Who does Dad play for?
Well, he came up through the Chivas system, but I don't think Chivas is going to. They're not in a great cash position right now, so I don't think he's going back to Guadalajara.
Okay. I guess fullbacks are a big need. Do we believe Zardes is the answer next year? Or do we need to find somebody who can put the biscuit in the basket 100%?
I mean, yeah, we'd all love a DP striker at this point who's way better than Giassi Zardes. Unless, obviously, if we get a fourth DP, then you have that option available. But it's a question of what restrictions would be on that. Where is Roto thinking? I would love to see is interesting is who are the types of players that we want to find? And I think I want, especially with Roto's connections in City Football Group, because they own so many different clubs, there has to be players that could go on loan from these top clubs that they're finding talent over South America, Africa, Asia, wherever else in the world. And I think of someone. I was at the Philly-Cincy game on Saturday, and the game winner was scored by Jefferson Mascara, who's a center back. But someone in his profile who is a 22-year-old Ecuadorian guy, or Colombian, I should say, but he's signed by Wolves. Wolves didn't have a place in the first team for him quite yet, and goes on a season loan. Yeah, ideally you'd love someone for more than a season, but if we could start building connections with big clubs and guys who are young and up and coming and need loans, I am glad to take those guys for a year or two to help develop them in MLS. Especially a lot of these English teams want players to actually learn the English language. There's a really good piece in The Athletic on the Mascara situation and why they chose to send him to the U.S. because they're like, oh, he could be on a team with a bunch of Spanish speakers and still learn English and develop in the league. And I feel like Roto has a bunch more connections in England and other big leagues that could help us get players like that.
Yeah, I was absolutely heartbroken when I found out that up-and-comers Girona and La Liga were owned by City Football Group, but that's a story for another day.
That's where Castellanos went. I mean, if you could have a year and a half of Castellanos, I mean, would you take that? 25 goals, 30 goals in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
6 days a week and twice on Sunday.
Absolutely. So, with that network, there are those kind of, potential possibilities that are out there. But again, yeah, we don't really know much about what he's going to bring. We've only seen kind of, I guess, maybe half a transfer window from Roto, given that he wasn't probably, he was involved to a degree, but I know that he was, not even in the country for a while, still trying to get some stuff worked out before he actually got here. And, obviously we had the Fagundes deal, but that was obviously much more of a salary dump since Memo Rodriguez wasn't even apparently worth $180,000 to be a minutes eater, which I thought would have actually been a good player to keep. And that one surprised me a little, maybe.
Yeah. Did we ever get a final number on the GAM we got out of that trade?
I think we netted about 200 plus 250. Okay. Based on Hedges offset with Fagundes, and then what what the Memo salary comes out.
But you're including Hedges in that.
Yeah, so you have to offset Hedges with Fagundes, and then basically just take Memo's salary.
So So one of the questions I wanted to throw out here is, okay, we still have Hedges. Are we going to be playing a back three with having three theoretically MLS starting quality center backs this season?
That's what makes the most sense to me, especially because that's sort of what we have tried to do a few times this year. And, Josh loves his high wing backs. So I wouldn't be shocked to see that. But do we switch to a 4 as soon as somebody gets hurt or gets tired, or how do we do this?
Yeah, because at this point, our fourth center back is still Alex.
No, technically it's Johan Romagna.
Romagna's coming back. Romagna comes back, but it sounds
those were my next two questions.
Because the story got leaked today, assumably by his agent, about how Austin's asking for $1 million for a transfer fee for Romagna, which seems insane. But it's just kind of, but at the same token, how much we're paying Hedges and Cascante and Leo together, those are three guys who are all getting paid like starters.
Yeah,
and
so
the salary cap league, I'm not sure how we're gonna reason spending that kind of money on that one position if you're only gonna play two.
I agree, and so I know that the argument is probably we're gonna load out Romagna here, right, or sell him if whatever we can get. Dude's only making 450 grand, somewhere in that range.
That's pretty good for an MLS defender.
That's not a bad value for a guy like him. And
no, it's a bad value for a guy like him. It's not a bad value for a starting caliber center back.
Sure, but I don't think he's out of those three options the fourth center back. Personally, I think he's more talented than a couple, or at least one of the players on that list.
Really?
Yes.
Go for it, Brad. Who's he more talented than?
Yeah,
Brian Mangum is listening.
Give me him over Hedges right now.
Okay, yeah.
With age and speed and ability to make some things up and physicality in the box, give me Hedges. Give me him over Hedges right now. And I think Matt Hedges is going to be good for us next year. He'll be fine. But we need somebody who's going to bring some damn heat in the box as a defender.
Did you want to put soccer IQ into the mix here, though?
It's not as fun. Hey, has Matt Hedges ever gone on a 70-yard run in Minnesota? I don't think so. Romagna has, with the ball at his feet. I was there. I saw it. It was beautiful.
He's probably done it in training.
Okay, but not during a game when we were down 2-0.
Is Romagna still the people's champ?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Charles, I know you always have your finger on the pulse there. While we're on this, Charles, how do you feel about Rodney?
Sad. I wish I had music queued up to properly convey the sadness. Mostly because I was looking back on this season and really the only time we were really happy this season outside of beating undermanned Dallas and Houston in the same week was Rodney's goal against New Mexico. And that really was looking back, we didn't realize that was going to be the peak of the season.
Wow. A lot of suffering. Very little joy.
Yeah. Do you think that was genuine happiness, or do you think that was kind of ironic, pent up happiness?
I don't know at this point.
So it was definitely a mix. I was down there in the supporter section, and everybody celebrated because it was a goal, and then it slowly dawned on people because it was on the north end. It slowly dawned on people that it was Rodney who scored, and then all of us who have been Rodney believers throughout all of this found each other and were able to just continue the celebration going. Also, I'm fairly sure that the Rodney chant is only the second time a player's ever gotten their name chanted, except besides Gite's hat trick.
Well, I guess like you had like the Driussi MVP chance last year,
Yeah,
but I don't know if you count that.
I mean, I thought it was pretty organic because that play, there was a euphoria for a solid 10 minutes after that goal when Rodney scored that you could feel it in the stadium. And the fact that it was a midweek game, U.S. Open Cup, and it wasn't a full house, it was kind of just the hardcore sickos that were there to watch a game against New Mexico United. It felt right that Rodney scored. And the folks who were there were going nuts. I thought it was very genuine.
Yeah, I don't remember if this was year 2 or year 3, but Rodney came in as a late game sub in one game, and it looked like he was finally going to get that first goal. And the press box was about as animated as I've ever seen it. Like, usually you're just kind of, you're not necessarily staid, but you don't necessarily whoop and holler when Austin goals happen or anything like that. But there were reporters in there that were openly rooting for Rodney to score, and just kind of brought everybody together like few other things have.
Yeah, I mean, he also scored that banger against Vancouver away that kind of got forgotten about because that was a late night during the week, so not a whole lot of people watched it.
And we gave up a goal in the first 90 seconds. That didn't help.
And then there was the banger against Tigres.
Yup.
Yeah.
We will always have Tigres. Do we actually think Romagna is going to stick around? It seems like his relationship, let's call it, with Wolf is kind of irreparably harmed, but maybe I have too much Mikel Arteta in my life.
Yeah, I was going to say not if Josh Wolf can help it. I think they want to move him if at all possible, and I think he's probably just going to come here to try to get into shape, which, according to Josh Wolf, is a 50-50 prospect, right? So.
Bro, have you seen those thighs?
Yeah, I feel as though I feel as though Romagna is kind of one of those players who at this time, the amount of salary he takes up would be more valuable than him as a player. And since we're in such a tear it down mode, it would make sense to try to get that moved.
Yeah, but I mean, that's most of our team, right? They're not worth the salary. That's why we're not good.
Well, yeah, but that I mean, that's where the hard part comes in. We have to tear everything down.
Sure.
We're down to 13 players under contract, I think now.
Yeah. Oh, and this will lead into a nice question we have from a listener for Phil, if you guys are cool with this. My good buddy and fellow Gooner. Phil, you're a Gooner, right?
Yes.
Okay. My good buddy Todd Schaefer says, is bringing in almost half a squad of players but keeping Wolf damaging in the long run for the club. What does it tell us about the strategy for the upcoming season? It feels like a way for the club to temper expectations and have an easy out if things don't go well.
I mean, that's a cynical way to look at it, yeah. But I mean, I think, you look at Houston, for example, last year. I mean, they knew that they wanted to change things. They got rid of Nagamura before the end of the season, but they also switched out 17 players. And when they brought Olsen in, the rebuild was kind of already on. So they had a sense of what they wanted to do. I wrote about this actually for Backheeled about a month or so ago. And basically, they had an assistant coach, which they've still kept on Olsen's squad, but was with the club, who kind of had a vision for what they wanted to do. And they got a bunch of players that fit that vision. And, it was a big dice roll at the time. It didn't look like maybe a lot of these players would necessarily work out, but lo and behold, they are in the conference finals. They've won an Open Cup. They have really turned that team around. I mean, they had some pieces there, obviously, notably Hector Herrera, who got it together, this year after a pretty disappointing last year. But I mean, I think it's possible to do a wholesale reset as long as you have kind of a clear vision. And again, the whole theory of, Roto taking on kind of an emperor to, Josh Wolf's Darth Vader kind of tutelage prospect might be something that would happen. And then maybe, Wolf gets better under Roto's tutelage, and the team is kind of more in line of what can play the style, and things turn out really well. But it could not work out that way. A bunch of things could go horribly, horribly wrong on the way to that. But looking at Houston and maybe to a lesser degree Atlanta and their transformations between 22 and 23, getting a lot of players in is, that's an example of what can happen on the positive side, that you can really remake a team in MLS in a single year and have it go well.
So, in your analogy, is Greg Berhalter Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just a weird place to be, but thanks for taking us down that road.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's what I do.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts kind of along those lines? Like, do we have a vision? Do we know? Should we know? I'm totally fine if we're kept in the dark and then they just come out with some really cool stuff. First game of the year, and we're like, oh shit, we didn't see any of that coming. I love being wrong, but
I don't know how much
I don't
they're able to hide though, because they're doing Goldcello, right? So you'd imagine they're going to be working on it in front of everyone out in California.
Good point.
But then again, has any team ever had a less instructive preseason than Austin has had the last 2 years or last 3 years? Like, I feel like everything we see in preseason, like, nothing bears out when the games actually matter. And so, I mean, Goldshell is going to be fun because let me rephrase. It's not going to be as fun as Verde Hill, but like, it's still going to be interesting that like it's going to be open.
We also don't know if we're playing one game out there, 3 or 4 games out there, and also like St. Louis played like 7 games that are open to the public last year. We were not ready for day one against St. Louis last year.
Yeah, that was a fun day for me.
Actually, extending Phil's analogy, is Jared Stroud a Sith because he like Jedi mind tricked Kippy? Are we taking this too far?
Yeah,
we weren't ready.
Yeah, Charles, we've never taken anything too far before.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to say we weren't ready for St. Louis last year. We had a 2-1 lead, and then Kip decided to do Kip things.
Yeah, but I mean, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
I'm thinking in this scenario, maybe Jared Stroud is a Jawa and Kip Keller is a unwieldy droid.
Okay, I can see that. No. I was going to take this way too far, but let's not do that. All right. Well, we talked about Romagna, and then we got way off track, which is what we do here. But is Alex Ring staying? What's going on?
That's a Phil question.
Yeah, I think not if they can help it, but I think that's going to be a little bit trickier. I mean, the question is, can they do anything to get him back down to a max TAM to open up a DCP spot, or is he, with this particular designation, is he going to remain a DP? You know, I don't know what they can do necessarily about that. The salary level, he's still at a place where he'd be convertible, but I don't know if it's as easy as just, waving a hand and saying, you're now a max TAM player. Probably not. But also, he didn't seem terribly, shall we say, happy here last year. So I can imagine maybe a scenario in which, this option triggered automatically. You're here, great. We still want to try to find a home for you, maybe somewhere in the Bundesliga. But it's possible that he stays at least the first part of the year and he's easier to move in the summer window.
So, Phil, let me ask this question, because obviously with Rodney gone, we lose one of the U22 designations for DP.
Yeah.
So how does that affect Alex's designation? Would he just go straight to TAM, since we don't have that third DP spot that has to be under a certain amount of dollars?
Yeah, well, see, that's what I don't know. But I mean, the thing is, if you have that max TAM DP player like Ring, you can only have one U22.
Okay.
And Awesome technically still has 2 right now, because Gite is on loan, but he's still on the books. And then Komanic is your other U22.
And Gite comes off the books in the summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my guess though is, again, if they want to kind of stay with that strategy, then, especially, we don't know also if there's that 4th DP thing, how that's going to affect. I imagine it's just going to be another, full DP slot, and it won't really affect the U22 stuff. But again, the other opportunity might be to get a U22 fullback or get a U22 striker, as one of those pieces, rather than, trying to do a DP right now. And you could still do that under the rosters. The only thing that's really changed fundamentally is that Redis is now gone. So we're down from 3 to 2 U22s. But, if there's a full third DP, then you can only have the one U22.
And there's been, Seth, you pointed this out in a chat that we were having, there's been a lot of pushback regarding if this is actually going to go through with the 4th DP because of the cheaper owners in MLS. Like, what are your odds on this actually going through? I'm asking this out of curiosity because I think y'all are more plugged into this answer than I am.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty high that it's going to go through. Garber pretty much admitted it during the All-Star game.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was a hedging trying to get owners to go a certain way. But I think that there are now enough wealthy owners in the league that they are a majority. The other thing I don't know, and Phil, you may know this. I don't know if that's a majority vote, a 2/3 vote, a 3/4 vote. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I think, well, I think it's just, isn't it just the Board of Governors though? I mean, I guess every team has a rep. So
yes,
does that have to go through the CBA too?
Well, I can't see the players having an objection to that. But
yeah, more people getting paid more money. The players aren't going to be mad about that.
No. I don't know. We have a lot of question marks, and after last year, I think question marks are probably good.
Sure, and we also have, as a league, we've got to figure out the new playoff system for next year because it has to change every year. We can actually keep playoffs the same every year. It doesn't work.
I was going to jump on this in a minute, and I'm going to start with Charles here. How many playoff games have you watched?
I watched the 2 Eastern games on Saturday, and that's all I've watched.
Okay, I watched the second St. Louis City Sporting KC match, so I'm at 1. Brad, how about you?
30 minutes combined.
Okay.
Of random
How
games.
many games?
Yeah, maybe 30 minutes combined. Gotta be honest, man. Saturday was college football rivalry day. I wasn't watching MLS if Austin wasn't involved. I had no interest in the first round best of threes. I thought it was the dumbest concept in the world and just didn't interest me.
Yep.
And then Sunday, I was just doing other stuff. So I have some plans to maybe catch a little bit of action this weekend, although I do have other stuff going on in the next 2 weeks, and I'm probably going to miss MLS Cup too. So,
Seth?
Yeah. So I probably watched the most. I was, as I mentioned earlier, I was at the Philly-Cincy game. So did get to see that in person in TQLs. And I know, Devin, you got to go when we were there for the USA-Mexico game 2 years ago. And outside of having small bathrooms is a wonderful stadium. It was cold there, but it was full house. And I was sitting one section over from the Bailey, which is their South End equivalent. And it was a great atmosphere. And it was fun to see that in person. In the first round, I watched like a minute of the play-in games and then random stuff around here or there. Like some of those weeknight games, like, I was just home and it was in the background. I wouldn't say I was like actively watching it, but like it was on TV. But I did watch both games I watched the second half of Houston SKC because I was watching the Bills Eagles game over that on Sunday, the first one, because that Bills Eagles game was better than the Houston KC game. There's a lot of good MLS after dark energy in the Seattle LAFC game, and it's just like, okay, I don't know how many people are watching that at that late of hour, but like I hope they actually got decent ratings for it because it was pretty fun soccer.
Were there random people like selling tequila shots outside TQL again?
No, there were no random people selling tequila shots. Lots more smoke. I know we occasionally throw smoke on our marches into matches, but like there was a lot of smoke to the point I'm like, I want a mask because there is so much smoke going on outside the stadium. And it was pretty windy outside as well, so like the smoke was just blowing into my face. And like they were throwing smoke bombs right as they were like walking in past security. I'm like, I don't think that's allowed, but like, no pasa nada.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Phil, how about you?
I probably have watched about like 60 to 70% of all the minutes, but I've forgotten a lot of the first round already. Yeah, I could kind of go back and recreate it, but it all kind of ran together, and then there was the international break that got in the way. And then, I did watch all the semi games, although on Saturday, I was watching Orlando Columbus while I was watching Apple Cup on a phone. And I was much more drawn to Apple Cup in the waning parts of that, since that was a lot more close and tense than I had expected that to be. But that is 2023 Washington football.
Yeah, Apple Cup was a great game.
It really was.
Win and you're in for UW.
I'm sorry, what?
Win and you're in for UW.
Yeah, that's a big F. I mean,
yep.
Oregon's real good, but Washington finds ways to win, and they're fun. They're really fun.
Or other teams who are playing them find ways to lose. I was at the Washington-Stanford game last month, and I was like, Washington did not win that game. Stanford definitely lost that game, though. But that's all you need sometimes.
Just a Jedi mind trick.
Yep, it all works out there.
Now we just need to do that to the entire Western Conference, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that we're going to have MLS Cup in Ohio no matter what happens, because even though the Crew and LAFC are both 3 seeds, the Crew had a higher point total. So whoever wins Hell is Real on Saturday will host the MLS Cup.
Huh.
That's right.
All right.
Fun.
And then you get the really fun scenario, which was the Austin scenario of last year, of the New England Revolution needing anyone but LAFC to win to make it to CONCACAF Champions Cup. And if anyone wants like the most sicko thing of the night, it is that there is a third place game going on over 2 legs in the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup between Mocha from the Dominican Republic and Harborview from Jamaica. The reason I bring this up is Mocha's home stadium is none other than our famous Tree Stadium in Santiago in the Dominican Republic. So they won 2-1 in Jamaica tonight, and if they get a result at home next week, we will have more CONCACAF Champions Cup at the lovely Tree Stadium in Santiago. Maybe there'll be some more honky honk.
Oh,
It all comes back to VLF.
Yes, honky honk.
I do like that stadium, though.
Yeah, I'm just sad that I didn't get to go to it. I was in Atlanta a few weeks ago using my Delta credit that I had for flights that I had bought to Santiago in the Dominican Republic. But alas, probably better that I didn't go.
Well, Austin FC didn't show up at that game either.
Yeah,
so.
no, yes.
So.
It would have been a fun vacation, but aside from the game.
We had all sorts of things set up. We had a cigar factory tour ready to go. We had some rum tastings. We had a brewery reserved pre-game. We had a bunch of fun stuff ready to go, but alas.
Speaking of, the U.S. men's national team is playing a game in San Antonio as part of Camp Cupcake against Slovenia. Is there any chance? I've heard some people say Brad Stuver might get called up. I can't see that happening, but him or Zan have any chance of playing?
I think Jean has a chance of playing because I just don't know who from Slovenia will be I just don't know enough about their team because they have enough players that are in big leagues that are already resumed. So it's going to be a B squad from them. They did qualify for the Olympics, so I think you're really looking at an Olympic squad and maybe a few other randos. It's just a question of we have Copa America next year, which we have a draw for Copa America in 9 days, and we don't know outside of the opening match and the final match where these matches are being played. It's crazy.
CONCACAF.
Speaking of that, they also announced the Women's Gold Cup, which for the first time is going to happen in February and March today. So no games at Austin because of the one huge mistake at Q2 that they did not build the 3rd and 4th locker rooms large enough for us to host double headers, which is just – it's crazy to me that they haven't fixed that because we've lost out on a bunch of international matches to Frisco and Houston as a result of that.
Where would you put them now, though?
Discount tire.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they can put them where the water fountains should be, and then it'll be fine.
Well, I guess the shower water would already be hot.
I was going to say, unless you took an extension off the loading dock and built locker rooms back there, I don't know where else you would put them.
I don't know. Good question.
But yeah, they did not think through that in building the stadium. They thought through a lot of other things, but they did not think through that. And they didn't think through, we're going to put a roof over the away fans and make their drums really loud.
Oh.
By the way, speaking of, I did go to the Trinidad and Tobago game. The away one was way funnier. But I did get to meet with Coach Wolf in the Captain Morgan Club before the game and just kind of milling around. If you guys have been in there before, it's just sort of like a little bar area. It's no different than go to Hop Squad or something before a game. And I just, there's supposed to be a thing with him and Paul Cavalieri where you had a photo op and Josh was just sort of walking around. So I'm in USA gear, whatever. And I just sort of waved at him and said, "Hey coach." And he just walks up to me and says, "We'll do better next year." It was just holy shit. At least you're under pressure or something. That was a hell of a response, dude. Did
you immediately just go, "I don't believe you"?
No, he's just, I'm not going to bother the guy. It's just "Hi, dude." And it was weird that a random guy said that to him and he's like, "Oh my God." So it sounds like he's being held to account at least. Maybe. Am I being optimistic?
maybe I gotta see it. I gotta see actual or hear something from ownership and from leadership that tells me he's being held accountable, because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Like all I've heard are excuses.
Phil, any takes here?
I mean, I would hope that he's thinking that right now, because I mean, obviously they did not do well last year. I mean, again, yeah, it's hard to say like at what point, what kind of level of results would have them looking for a coach, if it wasn't at the end of this year, which ended up being pretty bad, as you all remember. I mean, certainly, people are talking about summer as a possibility. Like if things aren't going well by June or July, there's an opportunity to get some of the folks that might be available, with the September to May calendar for most of the world. Obviously, some coaches might come free then, so maybe that's the time to replace him if you're going to replace him. Yeah, I mean, for me, the question has always been fundamentally, okay, he's not getting the results that people want. That's clear. There's questions about whether he's the right fit for this, but who do you replace him with? And I point this year to, Colorado and Portland, right? So, or yeah, I mean, you have this opportunity to replace Robin Fraser, and you think, oh yeah, that might be great, and then you end up getting Chris Armas, and then you have Gio Savarese, and you end up getting Phil Neville. That's not good. That's not improved. Like I wouldn't want that as one of those fans.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean there aren't better coaches available. That shows incompetence by leadership.
Right, but I'm just saying that, just because you replace Wolf, it doesn't mean that you're going to replace him with somebody that's going to be fundamentally better. I mean, that's supposed to be
what's
the job of the front office theoretically, but if you have, these jobs in Colorado and Portland, which are not bad places to be, they're not bad places to coach. I mean, Colorado doesn't have a ton of talent, but, certainly they're desirable destinations, and you end up like that's the end sum of your coaching search. Then what are you doing?
I mean, where's BJ Callahan coaching? I mean, can we just?
Yeah,
let the good players play.
I mean,
yeah, like let the good players play, give them freedom. Like that seems like a winning formula. I just think that it's one of those things where, like, because of Frodo's connections and his net, both in terms of scouting players and coaches, that I think you could give all of us 100 guesses on who the next Austin FC coach would be after Wolf, and none of us would get it right, because it's going to be some guy he plucks out of the Spanish league or England or something that we've never heard of.
I think that's the fantasy, right? I mean, I think people think that, Junior Pep is sitting in a glass case somewhere waiting for Roto to come and break it, and then all of a sudden that's the coach, and they start playing like peak 2022 Austin again. I don't know that that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance that there's some like 25-year-old coach who's just like is going to get a shot in MLS or something. Like I could definitely see something like a coach who's clearly not ready to take over a like small European club getting a shot here.
So we're going to find the next Will Still, is what I'm hearing.
Jack Wilshere was rumored to Colorado for a little while, so you never know. He's born and bred in a Wenger ball, which is very similar to what everybody jerks off to with the Pep model. So,
how did that rumor start? Were people throwing darts at a dartboard to come up with that? Or?
No, Colorado's he's the Arsenal U21 coach, U18 coach.
Oh,
and they're both owned by Kroenke. And so it was an opportunity to give him like a head coaching job.
Sure, but my problem with MLS is when you talk about coaches and coaching hiring, there's already so much recycled NFL, NBA type stuff where it's just the same coaches constantly over and over. It just put them in a new polo.
Once you've been a coach, you're always a coach.
I mean, Chris Armas.
But why aren't you looking at a Marcina down in San Antonio, who's had a pedigree now of winning consistently and even winning a championship at a lower level, and bringing him up? Or look throughout USL for other coaches as well. Look throughout America or North America or South America even. I don't give a shit. Start looking outside of what we already know fails in an MLS. So when we ask the question of, well, who are you going to get? Think outside the damn box of MLS for a change.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that just hasn't worked, though. Like, for example, Atlanta got Heinze, and that turned out to be like a horrible mistake. I mean, Losada was kind of a dice roll, and he's already, been at 2 different jobs, and apparently players hate him, So, I mean, yeah. I mean,
like, most had that Charlotte hired who went out like in bombastic press conferences.
Of course, but we know Phil Neville's not going to work. We know this. We've seen it.
Right.
We have proof of concept. I'd rather take a shot on someone where at least there's a pedigree that it might work versus I got a pedigree that, hey, this is going to suck ass.
Yeah, I mean, you would, but a lot of MLS teams don't, which I guess is your complaint here. But also, I think that's just kind of the way it is, just because it is so risky to bring in a non-MLS coach to MLS for that first job. I mean, it just hasn't worked more than it's actually worked. So, not everybody's Tata Martino.
For sure, but I'm not. I guess my thought process is I'm not asking you to bring in a first-time manager. I'm asking you to just look outside of MLS, even within the U.S. structure,
right?
For managers to come up who have been in a managerial position and have been successful.
Right. I thought Lassen did good at the Red Bulls, and I'm really surprised that they didn't retain him.
Yeah,
that was a big surprise.
I don't understand the groupthink that goes on within leadership of this league, and it drives me insane because I think it holds the league back from creativity and from growing.
I mean, it's not even just this league. It's really just every sports league who just recycles the same coaches. I mean, look at how baseball just recycles the same managers and never hires the good AAA managers. It's the same thing. If the way MLS treats USL, they don't view USL as being somewhere to promote from.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy if you think about it. So all 4 teams that are left in the playoffs, all their coaches are in their first 2 years right now in the league. 2 of them are first-time coaches in this league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's also a trend in MLS recently. I looked it up not that long ago of teams that win MLS Cup typically have a coach who's been there for less than 3 seasons. You can tell pretty quickly if the coach is the guy or not.
Yeah. But then again, if we had been on this podcast a year ago and we had heard about Ben Olsen being hired in Houston, we'd probably be saying the same things that we would have said about Phil Neville because his performance in DC wasn't great, and he's proved us wrong.
I mean,
I don't think Ben Olsen's dad's name is Neville.
I mean, I would say Olsen's mixed, and I mean, I think some of that might have to do with kind of DC's build and kind of the dysfunctionality that they've had, here and there, on and off. I mean, he isn't the most maybe kind of dynamic coach, but I mean, certainly, I mean, they're playing a really dynamic system, obviously, but a lot of that has to do with a lot of personnel, and a lot of that has to do with kind of the thinking that they were doing before they even brought him on.
Also, just how players can get better, coaches can get better. And a lot of times there's just a chance that, the players are going to learn more, or the coaches are going to learn from their past experiences and be able to take it on to their next job. And that might be, something that happens with Josh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
my big worry here is we get stuck with hey, this worked in MLS in 2018. Let's do that mindset. But we have, Messi in Miami. We have that whole build. We have the non-DP contracts for Bale and Chiellini. It's a different league.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to look at.
Do we get a regress from Giazza Zardes' age back to 2018 or no?
Can't help you there. Phil, you want to do another question?
Sure.
Okay. Fellow barbecue enthusiast Chris Rubio asks, do you believe that Roto is throwing away the 2024 season given that there was no movement with Wolf and the squad won't be much better this season? A little bit of assuming the question there in the end, but go for it.
Well, that's cynical. I mean, I don't think that he's throwing it necessarily, but I do think it's going to be a rebuild year. I mean, I think it's going to be, again, if you kind of look at the scenarios that are out there, I mean, I think it's going to look a lot like Atlanta's season this year. I mean, again, I don't know if they're going to get the equivalent of, Giacomakis. I hope so. That would be great. That would help things a bunch. But I think what it's going to be a lot of, shedding contracts that don't really work for the team, bringing in players. I mean, Roto talked about it being 3 to 4 windows, right? So I don't know that it's going to be throwing the season as much as maybe setting expectations and saying, yeah, it's going to take a while to unmake this really bad roster and make it a functional, good MLS roster again. And you are seeing already, I mean, just that so many of the options were declined is an indication that, yeah, okay, there's a rebuild in progress, but it's also a matter of who you bring in as well, right? So, I mean, if it's just kind of different retreads and they're going to be kind of the same level of performance, then yeah, it's going to be problematic. But I don't think there's some kind of nefarious plot in store where we're purposely going to get a bunch of bad players just so Wolf can take the blame for that. I think they are going to try to make that work. I think that's kind of a point of pride for Roto to make that whole thing work. But I do think it's going to take a while to get the roster fixed because, I mean, obviously, you have one DP that works on like that kind of half the level that he did in 22 when he was an MVP candidate. And then you have, two other DPs that are probably not giving DP level contributions. I mean, I think Ring's got, from raw numbers, he's really good. And I've got an article that I'm working on that should be up tomorrow that's going to delve into that a little bit. But, clearly you're not getting kind of the production that you wanted out of Rigoni. And if you're not getting production out of your DPs and your U22 players and kind of your higher paying players, like, again, you had, Fagundes this year, obviously Zardes, obviously Hedges. If you're not getting performances that are commensurate with those salaries, then that's going to reflect in how the team performs. I mean, it's clearly a function of you need your DPs to hit first and foremost.
Phil, more interested in seeing the roster in January or August?
Oh, I think August is going to give us a much clearer indication of where the team's going.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but January in the short term, just because I'm like really dying for news.
Follow Phil on Substack, Verde all day. I worry a little bit. I don't know if this is as much about the team versus the fan base. This is Roto's first job as a sporting director. Like, the guy's been around the game for a while. He knows what he's doing. He knows, good from bad, but is it a learning curve for him too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we pay anywhere near enough attention to that?
I mean, it is a learning curve for him. I mean, if you had told me that I'd be having drinks with him at a shitty dive bar in Columbus, Ohio last month, and he had realized that 5 months ago, celebrating an MLS Next Pro Cup, I doubt, like if you had told me at the beginning of the season that situation would have happened, I would have laughed my ass off because it would just be so ridiculous. And he was still adjusting to things. He's still adjusting to how these systems work. That you can't just bring up players. Like, it's one of those things, like, he academically knows his constraints, but it's one thing for him to academically know them. It's another thing for him to see that firsthand. And I think he's a patient person. I mean, he's someone who's watched players develop from when they were 7, 8, 9 years old, building them up through a system. I think his patience is much longer than ours, and that is something that we're going to have to watch in due time. And I think at this point, his goal is having a team that's right around the playoff line come July, August, get some players, and make a playoff run next year.
More important question, because this is how I think we'll know what we're looking with Roto. What was his drink of choice?
He was drinking a Bell's Two Hearted.
Okay, that's not a bad. Okay, that's a man of taste. I appreciate this.
Yeah,
Bell's kind of went downhill after Larry Bell sold the company, but I'm not going to fault him for that.
Yeah, no, he could have gone with the Rhinehouse Cheetah that was on draft, but he that's probably too foreign to him, and that's fine.
Rhinehouse is pretty good. We went there, right?
Yeah, we did. That was the place that had the huge overarching, like vaulted ceiling and all of that fun stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. While we're on the subject, Phil, how much is jellyfish going to cost next year?
I don't know. That's a question for Andy Lockname that I should probably ask. So,
I just want to know why it's exponentially cheaper at the HEB Center in Cedar Park.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so can I share my conspiracy theory about this?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
My conspiracy theory about this is that they intentionally priced it that high so that everybody would notice it because of the high price and wonder, why is electric jellyfish $18? But every time we wondered that, we also say the name of it. And it's free promotion for them constantly as we complain about the beer prices. And it has only led to more people being aware of it.
So is this like the Starbucks they write your name wrong thing? Where everybody is like, oh, Starbucks wrote my name wrong on my cup. They got it wrong. And then they like complain to their office mates and people are like, oh, I heard Starbucks. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Or just that Levi's wants to make obscene profits.
I think that's genius. I also don't think it's accurate. It just bothers me. It just bothers me.
I didn't say it was a real theory. I said it's a conspiracy theory.
Oh, no, I think it's genius. It just bothers me when I go to hockey over here in Cedar Park, and it's a 32 ouncer is $14 on draft.
Wow.
And a pint at the stadium in a can is $19 for soccer. It's just, that's a wild difference to me, and I can't understand.
That's a big league.
And a 15% tip for the self-checkout kiosk.
Yes.
Right. I lose my mind on that.
Well, I mean, I think it makes people curious. Just a reminder to people who didn't catch it. I did the article a few months ago when we knew kind of all the roster salary numbers, and I calculated the entire Austin FC salary in Electric Jellyfish.
Nice.
I'll probably bring
Do you
that
remember
back
what it was?
I somehow missed that. Now I need to go find it.
I think we were approaching 1 million EJs as the currency. And I think we may surpass that this year.
Did they sell 1 million EJs during the season?
Oh, hold on. Now we get into some other math. Hold on. So
I don't think but it was
No. A
it
million
like,
EJs would be like 2.5 EJs a person at every match. There's no way that's.
I doubt they've sold 1 million EJs total.
Okay, so hold on. If we assume 15,000 people at the stadium can drink on a given night, and we have 18 games a year, that's 270,000 for one beer per person per game. So if we do per half, now we're at over 500,000 beers of Electric Jellyfish that we bought on the salary, one per half for an entire season. I'm sure this is doable.
Yeah. Except for all the people who are in ranch waters.
Well, yeah, but then when you take into account how many more beers you needed to get through this past season.
It would actually be really funny to have. It would actually be really funny to have Los Verdes for one home match intentionally buy out the Electric Jellyfish in the stadium.
Well, that happened to me when we were at the hockey game at the HEB Center. Like the two people in front of me bought the last of the Electric Jellyfish, so I didn't get one of Brad's lovely $14 32 ounces.
Yeah.
But such is life.
Do we have any more questions for Phil from the readership?
No, I just pinged that in an Arsenal group earlier, kind of on accident. And I thought those were good questions. So do you guys have any questions for Phil?
All right, Phil. Out of the box signing that is going to be in Verde come January.
Out of the box meaning
off the radar. Let's say that. Let's use that phrase.
Okay. Let's say TAM level striker.
Give me a name.
But who?
It wouldn't be out of the box.
Billy Sharp.
Billy Sharp certainly fits the profile, right? So
yeah,
he's over 30. So.
No, he's too productive. That's the problem.
But you think about it, players like, Vicinen, like Radovanovic, who had really great numbers for like the brief time he was here. There's, Gabrielson. These are players that like people didn't generally know at all when they came over here, and they turned out to be, I think Vicinen's kind of one of the better fits. That's been on the team in the last year. Obviously Gabrielson, he's missed. I think Radovanovic, if he had been, convinced to, want to stay in the U.S., would have been, probably, maybe a better center back solution than where, the club arrived. So, I think it's going to be somebody who is like truly off the radar. That's my hope. Certainly you can kind of look at the MLS free agent list and try to talk yourself into, Diego Rubio or Fafa Picault or someone like that. But my hope, and I think I would imagine with Precourt that, his hope and with Roto is that you get tapped into this truly global network, and you can find people and you don't have to rely on like, Diego Cerati, people like that to stock your team.
Yeah,
all
so
right,
I guess the question is then to follow up on that, Phil, who do you think that? Okay, so it's rumored that Luis Suarez is going to enter Miami. Do you think there's going to be any other A-list signings of players that come into the league before next season starts in February?
I think, Griezmann's been talked about, but I think he might still be a few years away. Again, for I think those top level European players, it's still going to be something where that's going to be tempting late in their career. If there is more money to be had, certainly, Messi's kind of like a special move heaven and earth kind of situation in order to get him on the money that you needed to get him on. But I could see, certain players maybe, buying into that project. Maybe not people necessarily of like, Griezmann's or Mbappe's ilk, but maybe somebody that's like maybe kind of a tier below that. I was certainly surprised with, obviously Messi. There had been a lot of noise for a while, but to hear Suarez coming in, I mean that to me is even at his age, it's pretty shocking because he's still pretty productive for.
Yeah.
And he still could theoretically. I mean, certainly there are mountains of money to be made in Saudi Arabia right now, and somebody like that could. I also see that maybe like players who are lured in by kind of the Saudi money, like Yannick Carrasco or something like that. Maybe they want a safety valve, and maybe MLS is that. So you might have people that say, no, I really don't want to like play or live in this country anymore. I've made my cash, but going back to Europe might not be necessarily the move. I mean, I think MLS gets more and more appealing, especially, with the World Cup coming in 26 and with what Messi's done. I mean, at least, and if there is a fourth DP, there's going to be all of a sudden, this kind of extra, place for, 29, 30 players to go once San Diego gets in. So, I definitely think that there's kind of more of a market to where something like that would be doable.
Yeah, no.
especially for
I was going to say staying
South
on the
American
Miami
players
question.
too. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say staying on the Miami question. Are they the favorites to win their local over 35 league this year?
Yeah, they look pretty strong. Yeah, in that turn. Seriously, though, I mean, I kind of wonder like what they're going to be like, having a full off season, possibly, if they do get Suarez, obviously, yeah, I mean, they'll be pegged as one of the favorites, but I mean, they still obviously had some issues and they couldn't dig out of the hole that they were in. But that was a Phil Neville dug hole. Now Portland has to worry about that. So be curious to see kind of what they do out of the gate. They'll be definitely one of the more interesting teams to watch.
Yeah. Now, Phil, the one name you did not bring up that I thought you might bring up that has been widely rumored here in Chicago is Robert Lewandowski coming here.
Oh yeah, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, they'd actually have people. The third largest city in Poland would actually show up at games.
No, that'd be great. I mean that probably works better than Shaqiri, though. I'm always going to have a soft spot in my heart for Shaqiri now, because my daughter, back in the U.S. Open Cup match, she got to be the mascot, and she got paired with Shaqiri. Because she's a short 6-year-old. And yeah, Shaqiri gave her this like really great big wink, holding her hand going out in the field, which made like a lot of the Chicago social media stuff. And then like she ended up getting featured in a hype video. Of course it was a fire hype video because they beat us and they were moving on in the next round of the Open Cup. But yeah, he treated her well in that brief time. I think it was like she was saying her name was Banana too for some strange reason. So because that's just kind of the kid that she is. So
Hey, hype video is a hype video, and Shaqiri always gets points for throwing up the double eagle. So, yeah, him and Granite both got very fined and suspended for that, but it was well worth it. You guys want to do a little fun closer here?
Yeah.
I actually still have one question for Phil, if that's okay.
Okay,
sure.
So I know this happened a couple of years ago, but are you ever going to do a hot wings or hot chicken wings challenge again?
Depends on the occasion. I mean, yeah. I mean, if Jeremiah and Landon are up for them, I'm certainly down to do that. But yeah, my nephew actually, yeah, he's really gotten into hot foods, and he like did a challenge at the school Halloween party with his like fellow 8th graders. So it's definitely like running in the family now. I've got my daughter asking about Pepper X, and all that. So yeah, I mean, I'm down to, risk my palate, my insides for a dumb food challenge. Sure.
No, Brad and I will do one with you.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, 100% in.
What is it going to be built around though?
You pick.
Okay, I'll think about this. Yeah, I mean, if it's a 3-way, then I gotta think about this. Maybe this has to do with the all important Copa Tejas or something like that. Let me think on it and get back to y'all.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Seth, I'm going to start with you. We've basically been out of MLS for almost 2 months. What's been your biggest moment of suffering since then?
The biggest moment of suffering has been I just have to say, just the tick tock of just like waiting for just about anything to happen, and hopefully that will end soon after MLS Cup.
Charles?
My biggest moment of suffering was on November 8th when Manchester United were robbed of a Champions League win against Copenhagen thanks to shoddy officiating and even shoddier defending.
That's a good way to put it. Brad, how about you?
Of the off season so far, I don't know that I've really had one, to be honest. It's been a pretty good off season. Haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to soccer. Things have been going well on the other football side, so honestly, it's been pretty good. Pretty good.
Your biggest moment of suffering is that you have no moment of suffering?
Yeah, maybe so.
There you go.
Oh, I guess I do have to correct that. Joe Burrow providing me my biggest moment of suffering, because I was just thinking in terms of an Austin FC.
I mean, it's probably going to come Sunday when I go watch the Broncos play for the first time in 13 years in person. So
yeah, that's not going to go good.
Yeah, they're going to let me down, which is what's going to happen.
Yeah, they built you up enough, and now they're going to completely smash all your hopes and dreams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go ahead and do mine. Seth and I have had a refereeing podcast planned for 3 months, and we keep waiting for a non-insane weekend of refereeing to happen, and it hasn't happened. And I just want that to stop so we can actually do that. Phil?
Yeah, I would say actually Sunday. I in, again, kind of running out of teams to root for, was kind of hoping that my boyhood club, the Sounders, would beat LAFC, and then they ran into a whole bunch of Ted Uncle, which was a lot of fun. So, and I kind of didn't want to see LAFC into the conference finals again, but they're there now. So I'm actually kind of hoping for an LAFC Cincinnati final, because I think that will be the most fun of the remaining options.
Yeah, I'm sort of at LAFC is the known evil, like Bayern Munich type of, them winning doesn't really bother me because it's just sort of whatever. Columbus, not great. Houston, obviously not great. Cincinnati would be fine.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati is the clear choice right now.
Yeah.
Teams that I want to win, that would make me perfectly happy for their fan base, and a team that I'd like to see win, who's been fun to watch a play all year.
Yeah, from a pure soccer standpoint, Columbus Houston would probably actually be a lot of fun, but I would be constantly recoiling during watching that match. So that would make it really difficult,
That would be a perfect end to Austin's season, is to have to watch MLS Cup and have a somewhat rooting interest in either Columbus or Houston winning.
Okay, but the funniest outcome for me against Columbus this year is they lose the MLS Next Pro Cup to Austin, who they still have the hatred for us. And then they lose out of the playoffs in the conference finals to Cincinnati. There's nothing funnier for Columbus to me against that.
Yeah, no, it would be.
Yeah.
But you know what? Ohio State died this past weekend, so the Ohio MLS teams could live, or something like that.
Hey, the rankings just came out. Ohio State's still in live support.
Oh yeah, well they're Ohio State. They can. They have more lives than a cat.
They are still currently above Texas and Bama. So
crazy. No, but it would be I can't if you look at this. I mean, obviously LAFC won last year. Columbus won in 2020. Seattle won in 20. Now they had won in 2019. You get to Houston. They've won a U.S. Open Cup this year. I mean, outside of the Shield, that Cincinnati's won. That no professional sports team in Cincinnati has won a championship in 33 years. If they can win both these games at home, that's going to be a huge. I mean, the city might not survive, but that's okay.
How not survive are we talking about? Philadelphia or
no? It would be. I mean, it's a 4:00 game. There would be. I mean, and there's no public transit really there. I would have to oh gosh, the amount of DUIs leaving that stadium is kind of terrifying to think of. But that is, you know what? I think it'd be fun, and the city would deserve it. There might be a few buildings that burn here or there, but nothing they haven't seen before.
Is that the best of the Cincinnati cities, though, or the Ohio cities rather, or would you say Cleveland's better than Cincinnati?
I mean, as a native Cincinnatian, I can't say that Cleveland is better. That would be a lie and anything. And as Devin's been there before. I mean, the area around TQL, which when I was growing up was like an area where you volunteered at the soup kitchen, is now an area where you buy $15 cocktails, and there's like 6 craft breweries and all these high-end restaurants and everything else. Like it's a really cool neighborhood what they've done, and they're going to be building a bunch more. They're building a team hotel. They're doing all sorts of transit-oriented development there in the next year or two. So I'm excited to see what's going to come up there.
All right.
But there are like homes that are just west of the stadium that like if they like a few buildings that look like, oh, one match could actually like burn down the whole block, because that is it's very clear the line of what has been gentrified and what has not been gentrified.
Got it.
Yeah, and it's very it mirrors my hometown, St. Louis, quite a bit. So it's sort of home away from home.
Yeah,
although we don't have a pig statue in a tuxedo like I found there.
Yep, the Flying Pig Marathon.
I'm sorry, what?
So Cincinnati's marathon is called the Flying Pig, and that there are flying pig statues all over the city.
Yeah, it's a thing.
I need to go see this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Field trip.
Well, maybe we'll get an away game there next year.
Okay, yeah, this is the other thing we should talk about now that we have Phil on. Best guesses for road games. We've had this conversation with Seth, but I'd like to hear you both talk about it.
So
You mean like East road games?
Yeah, East road games.
Yeah. Well, what hasn't happened? Philly hasn't happened, right?
We have 7 that haven't happened. So it's Columbus, Cincinnati, Chicago, Philly, NYCFC, Orlando, Toronto.
So many good ones in there.
For no good reason, I'm going to say Chicago, Philly, Orlando. Definitely is the 3.
I think for no good reason is actually the scheduling mantra. So
It's the most inconvenient road trip.
But we haven't played Philly or NYCFC or Chicago scheduled in the league.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so I think we'll get those. I at the MLS Next Pro Final, as some of you know, I ended up carrying out the trophy onto the field, which was a whole set of circumstances. And I ended up in the crew pitch shine club with Dr. Pete, their owner. And it was like, we were having a nice chat about how cool everything was to see this game happening. He's like, my number one request to the league is making sure the first teams play here next year. So I have no idea if Dr. Pete's word means anything, but he very clearly wanted it on the schedule.
That would be a road trip. I mean, All-Star games there this year, right? So
yes. So
there is the possibility of going to Columbus, even if the whole team doesn't go.
Yeah,
I definitely recommend an All-Star game. They're fun.
Yeah, I mean that's also. I mean, I would hope that Boston hosts the 2025 All-Star game. I mean, I think
they will. I'm surprised they didn't host this one.
Well, I think that Columbus wanted to be like, hey, we're going to host before Austin because like we don't really care about that, but they care about that, so let them care about that.
Right. Yeah. No, I would be shocked if Austin didn't get the 25.
Let there be mustard packets.
I'm totally carrying mustard with me when we go there.
All right. Well, I'm really intrigued about this spicy wings challenge with Phil, actually.
Me too.
Yeah. Feel free to send in suggestions to Phil or the at SFJ Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to. Follow Phil on Verde All Day, Substack. Anything you guys want to throw in right here at the end?
Oh, maybe it should be picking the correct order of Dallas, Houston, Austin. Although I don't know if we would arrive at the same things, maybe. So I don't know. Just throwing that out there as a possibility.
I mean, the other idea could be doing like closest to Austin's total point total at the end of the season.
Okay.
I like that.
Well, I think I got third in the Predictatron, so I was doing better than you guys.
I'm
pretty confident in that one.
I was way too optimistic about last year.
We all were.
Oh, sweet summer children.
But you know what? It's kind of fun to go into a season with no expectations. So hopefully they can't let us down.
Well, I think it's where a lot of people are at. So,
Say that, and then ticket prices rise 15% again next year.
Yeah, Seth, don't you have a friend that said Precourt will find a way to like screw you in ways you never thought possible?
Yes, that is true.
So, yeah.
You know what? At least our tickets. I was talking to my dad when I was back in Cincinnati. Their Bengals season tickets went up by 36% this for next season. Which admittedly, like, they have to pay Joe Burrow. I get it, but like, it's interesting.
I mean, it could be worse. Like, my dad's went up a bunch, and then they moved the team to LA. So, yeah, that was a whole thing.
Charles has apparently lost audio.
Yeah, Charles, you back? Charles is returning just in time for us to sign off. Charles.
Perfect
Charles.
timing.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
There you go. Nothing.
No.
Just nonsense.
I did remember my soccer-related suffering from joy. By the way, I broke my wrist playing indoor.
Oh,
how'd you do that?
Playing keeper, took a shot right off the tiny bone on the side of my wrist.
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah, it hurt.
Indoor will kill you. Indoor's dangerous. I won't play indoor.
Yeah.
I hardly play outdoor either, but gonna play in the media camp on Friday though, which should be fun.
Phil, can you get me in to broadcast this?
I don't know. Like Lincoln was there last year, so I will. I think they're trying to figure out like who all's going to actually be there, and they're going to have rosters by Thursdays. Let me work on that.
I don't want to play.
Yeah, Brad, I got to go 2 years ago. I just literally walked into St. David's and no one kicked me out.
Is it during the day on Friday?
It was like 3 p.m. when I went 2 years ago.
Okay, I just need someone to hook me up with a broadcast so that we can live stream this thing at some point. It may not be this year because it's too late in the game, but next year we should start working on this, and we need some inside work so that we can do play-by-play, and then we can go recruit why am I missing our friend's name all of a sudden? Alistair McAllister to work with me here, and we can live stream this broadcast on the media game. That's my dream right now.
God. Don't know if that's going to be the media players' dreams necessarily, but
y'all do it fine.
I mean, I hear the bubble is going for that DP spot.
Are we doing joy or just suffering? Is this just all about suffering, or?
I mean, if you want to tell us some joy, we would love it.
Okay. Does no one else has joy, or?
No, we usually just do suffering, but yeah, tell us some joy.
Yeah, I mean, even though college football is a horrible scam and conferences mean nothing anymore, I'm really enjoying Washington's football season. So, again, kind of hoping to kind of continue that on Friday night with the game against Oregon in Vegas.
Mucho joy. Missouri's doing great. Brad doesn't have to watch Auburn, so yeah.
I mean, I love my alma mater. I despise the University of Alabama, but I hate Hugh Freeze more, and him losing the last 2 weeks in the way he has just brings me joy. So, yeah.
Then I have news.
Brad, who's the worst human being, Hugh Freeze or Tommy Tuberville?
Oh God, they were on the field talking to each other pregame the other day. Apparently.
Oh God.
Imagine that conversation.
And I just learned the origin of the
Donald
phrase
Trump could walk in that room and he might.
Yeah, it's been a long season, but one thing is I have found like a renewed love for the sport that honestly I grew up loving the most is college football, because the quad box on YouTube TV has changed my life. And all I have been doing all year is literally watching quad box plus another game on the computer. So I have 5 games going at a time. And it was never my alma mater. It was always something else. And it was great. I'm just enjoying football for football's sake. And I'm going to get to go see Army Navy in a week and a half that I'm super excited for. So, and knock off a bucket list trip. So I'm ready.
Yeah, I always get that way with the NHL playoffs too. Like as soon as the Blues are knocked out, like it's so much more fun.
Yeah, Brad, is that going to be your first time at Foxborough?
Yes.
So be prepared if you're not staying near there for some of the worst traffic you've ever seen in your life getting in and out of that venue.
We have preemptively bought train tickets.
Good. I'm glad that I'm glad they're running the train because
They are.
The Austin game out there, they did not run the train, and that was I mean, MLS doesn't matter, but
our train gets to the stadium. I want to say like 5 hours before kickoff.
Yeah.
Because Army Navy, a lot of it is pregame. A lot of the spectacle is actually pregame, so you want to get there early. And then our one home is like 2 hours after the game or something like that.
Yeah, so and there's great tailgating parking lots, and there's like a whole mall there.
Yeah, we figured we'd find. I saw a brewery and stuff, so I figured we'd hang out and eat and drink before and after the game. It'd be fine. So
you will be just fine. Yeah. I hope it's not too cold.
It is looking as of today as 44 and rainy.
You know what? For December in New England, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not complaining yet.
Yeah. That sounds like a joy from Brad. I guess, Charles, do you want to pop one in? Phil's messing with our format here, but we'll go ahead and do it.
Not bringing happiness, Phil.
No,
Jesus, Phil.
I also was at the U.S. men's national team match against Trinidad and Tobago, and there was some pretty good joy toward the end. Just seeing the team actually score thanks to the red card. I actually leaned over to some U.S. fans who were next to me after the red card and said, "Oh, good, we finally have a chance at scoring." And they were not happy with my assessment of the team.
I thought that was pretty funny. Seth, you got a good one?
Oh yeah, I mean, I got to go to the FCTO championship game. Like that was awesome. Like we haven't actually recorded a podcast since then. Like I mean, getting to win MLS Next Pro in the first season and the way that we did coming back for a 1-0 down in Columbus in front of over 7,000 fans at Lower.com Field, and like we had a fun group of supporters. The families were great to work with. Like getting player access, and then we ended up after the game at a sketchy dive bar right off of the stadium grounds and got to celebrate with the whole team and ownership. And Andy, who was like in witness protection in Columbus, like he did not come, Rono and Andy did not come to the fan section at all. I mean, they just stayed in their box. Did not show up there because like Andy was like, yeah, I'm staying at a hotel in the suburbs 35 minutes away because it's like if I stayed near the stadium, I'm afraid the crazy Crew fans would have come and hunted him down. And it was his first time back in Columbus since leaving.
Oh, my.
Wow. I forgot to tell y'all my funny U.S. national team story from the game. So in about the 60th minute, maybe 55th, there was a gentleman on my row who just started chanting for Pepe, for him to come in. Pepe, Pepe. And after a couple of minutes, I just got annoyed, and I was like, he doesn't fundamentally change the game because if the way they're playing defensively, TNT is loading the box and just making us go over the top, right? So if you just do a straight swap at striker, nothing changes. It turns out this gentleman and the people he was getting to chant Pepe were all Pepe's family.
You showed him. also, he was right.
Huh?
I said also he was right.
Well, no, he really wasn't, though, because he said, what has Flo done? Wait till Pepe comes in for Flo. The goal was scored because the tactics were changed to go to two strikers,
right?
Which they were running off of each other. So he really wasn't right.
This is definitely, I'm technically correct, the best kind of correct argument.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was hilarious. When Pepe scored, he reached out to give me the handshake, the whole fake slide his hand by his hair thing. I was like, all right, fine, that's cool. All right, I see how it's going to be. It's up.
Fair enough there, though. What section were you in?
I was literally in my season tickets, my row, just a few seats down.
Oh, damn. Nice. Yeah. All right. Oh, I have to do one of these, don't I? Mucho joy. Actually, you know what? Mizzou's going to be in a New Year's Six Bowl.
Very likely in Arlington.
I keep seeing Peach Bowl.
Could see that.
But if it's in Arlington, I think we'll go. Especially if we play Texas. That'll be fun. We'll see.
I guess I had a thought, but that's a conference game again.
Yeah, maybe they won't do that. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not. Whatever. I don't really care about
Oh, actually, I meant to do this at the opening. Brad, Charles, Phil. Seth and I play like a daily trivia game, and we went head to head today. Who do you think won?
Seth.
Oh, Seth.
I feel like Devin won because otherwise you wouldn't bring it up.
Seth, you want to fill them in?
We believe that we tied, but Devin actually got more points right, but Devin did not play defense very well. So a very Austin FC fitting story.
Yes. Devin got more questions correct, but Seth played the points better. So we ended up with a tie.
But Devin is ahead of me.
play...
Devin is a better trivia player than I am.
How do you play defense in trivia?
So how VERDE League works is that you get 6 questions per day, and you assign the one that you think they are least likely to get right 3 points. Then the next 2 points, the next 2 1 point, and then the one that you think that they're obviously going to get right, you assign 0 points.
Okay.
And you get you can see the people's track record on categories. And the thing is, I'm usually a very easy player to play defense against because I am very knowledgeable about certain things. Like, for example, my current event score is something like I've gotten 51 out of 52 current event questions right, but on classical music, I've gotten 12 out of 53.
Seth, what song did Taylor Swift change to include Travis Kelce into the lyrics?
I do not know. I'm not. But that's not even classical.
Now you're 51 for 53.
But is that a current event or is that a pop music question?
Oh, see, I think it's current event. It was on CNN and all the other articles.
Yeah, no, it is. I will say the thing I did see today about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift is that they got custom Bearcats basketball jerseys because they are apparently going to go to the Cincinnati, Kansas basketball game in January at Allen Fieldhouse together, and they look amazing.
Taylor Swift
getting this is really far in the weeds even for us.
Taylor Swift getting attacked by Kansas basketball fans might be the funniest thing I can think of at this point because it's still Kansas basketball, man.
It is Kansas basketball. It is a big Monday, 8:00 ESPN Central Time game. It's going to be good there. And the Bearcats look okay. I was watching them earlier on the most hilarious ESPN Plus feed. They were playing at Howard, in DC, which I don't know why they were doing that. And they were doing it on a camera that was so bad that it made Next Pro look great. They had one camera and they would forget to change it side to side, so you would miss half the plays. But they won in overtime, and the Bearcats have the best named player in college basketball this year, Edgerrin James, the running back's son. His name is Jizzle, and yes, the Bearcats point is Jizzle James.
That's amazing.
Wow. God bless America.
It's okay.
All right. Well, I've been trying to wrap this up for 20 minutes, so we can do whatever you guys want to.
We're currently watching a little bit of our annual Christmas marathon of Hallmark movies that we started last year on Carrie's Instagram. And I will spoil one thing because I'm like I said, I'm going to the game next week, so we're getting a few of them ahead of time. And one of the characters' name was Bankerson. Amazing. He's supposed to be a newsman, and his name is Bankerson.
It stands to reason.
Oh.
Yeah, no, we've definitely Midwestern goodbye tried to end this podcast.
As I've been trying, I swear to God, for 20, 30 minutes. Phil, anything to close out on?
No, I think Bink Binkerson brought us home.
Yeah. Phil, can we bring you back for the Christmas movie / TV show discussion?
Sure. Yeah. No, I left to go to my co-working space as my wife and kids were plunging into the first episode of Santa Clauses. So yes, I'm sure I'll be able to weigh in sporadically on some of these things.
Okay. Seth, Brad, Charles, anything you guys want to add? I think that is no. I'm wrapping this up when I get the chance. So on behalf of Seth, on behalf of Brad, on behalf of Charles, and our special guest, Phil West, thanks for joining us, and follow Phil on Substack. I don't know what the last 20 to 30 minutes of this shit was, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know at SFJ Podcast on Twitter, on Instagram. You guys can find me on social media. Just do it. We love you guys. Thanks. Good night.
night.
Promise here for Austin Jarrett Stroud. It's Diego Fagundes. He has written his name into Austin folklore.
They just won't go away.
Oh, he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.